Improving your finances can take a lot of time and dedication, whether you want to save your first dollar, your first hundred, or your first 100,000. Today's video, we're going to be looking at small changes and tweaks that you can do to improve your financial health. And really, these are pretty easy when you think of the small changes and really the things we do day to day on a basis add up. When you start looking at a month, you've been doing it for 30 days. When you look at a year, 365 over a decade can change your entire life. Now, the first one we look, switching to a high yield savings account. For me personally, this was a game changer when it comes to your emergency fund. Like we've always said with the emergency fund, you want to keep that liquid. You want to keep it in a high yield savings account. We don't want to be locking up in investments. We do not want to be putting that into CDs. We want to keep it liquid just in case an emergency happens. And to maximize this, it is those high yield savings accounts. Now, I do have a link down below for M1 Finance. Their high yield savings account is 4.25%. That is higher still than a lot of savings accounts. That is also higher than a lot of CD rates that banks are offering. You have to maximize your savings and maximize the money you get in that emergency fund. Even for instance, let's say your emergency fund, you're saving 15,000. You have 15,000 in there. Every single time that you're getting dividends, that you're getting interest in there, you could be using that money to repay debt. You could be using it for a lot of different things or just letting it accumulate in there. When you start looking at the national savings rate, it is a 0.45. You are talking less than 0.5%, which means all the money you're keeping in that savings account is getting eaten up in its entirety by interest. Even looking at high yield savings accounts, majority of them are 4% plus. So make sure you're parking that money into that high yield savings account and anything that you do have liquid. Second one we look at is automating your savings. This for me was a game changer. I have literally automated everything. And again, going back to M1 Finance, we are doing investments on a weekly basis. For my kids, we're doing it every 2 weeks. We have automated the savings and we have automated it in a really big way. So the way that I break it down is we make regular contributions to that high yield savings account, keeping it well above where we do want that emergency fund. Anything above that is being invested on a regular basis. So we actually have an account that will cap at a certain amount of money. For me personally, that is the $30,000 threshold. That is what we have in our emergency fund. That is what is earning that 4.25% in that high yield savings. So even when I do get dividends, if I do get interest on there, which they pay every month, if it goes above that 30,000 mark, it is automatically, that is right, that is the word that I use, put into an investment account. And this is put on an investment account every single week. Me making regular contributions, and of course, part of my paycheck automatically goes into that high yield savings account, which then is automatically, like we said, put into the investment accounts, still keeping my emergency fund 100% intact, earning a pretty good rate of return, earning a really good rate of return on all the investment accounts we have. And this is very, very easy, very simplified with just depositing money in there on a regular basis. Now, of course, you can start and really fine tune this. So let's say, for instance, you start with $25 every paycheck. That's going in there. You get a raise, you get a little bit more money, bumping it up to 30, going to 40, doing 50. You'll get to a point where through those little incremental increases, it will improve your finances in a major way till you get that fully funded emergency fund. Then you can start looking at building out and really starting to invest. Now, third one we look at really is two different variations. Number one, making those 401k contributions, at least getting that matching that your employer offers. If you're not getting it, and if you have chosen not to make contributions to the 401k, if you do not have it, guys, it is free money. There is literally no place in the world that you're going to be guaranteed a 100% return, regardless of what it's invested in, regardless of how this works. Getting a 100% return on your money is going to be huge. Once we start looking and maxing out or getting that employer match, let's say again, for instance, you get 7%. So you start putting 7% in there. Then you start looking at your HSA accounts and also the Roth IRAs. Now, when it comes to 401ks in general, do the Roth variation if you have the ability to. Like I've said time and time again, when you start looking at the benefits that we see with the Roth IRA and also with that Roth 401k variation, it does make sense to make it super easy, super automated, very convenient to kind of set it and forget it. If you start putting the 7% in, again, getting that match, then you get a raise. You are keeping your raise in the entirety because you're already contributing that 7%. And of course, this can make a really big difference. Now, the fourth one we get into, paying your credit card weekly versus monthly. A lot of people dread the bill they get every single month. And of course, paying it weekly really has a different psychological factor. So what I see a majority of times is people will rack up their entire monthly expenses onto one card. At the end of the month, they don't have the money to pay off that one single card. So it really just accumulates and snowballs. Then when you couple in a 23, 25, 27% interest rate on there, the snowball just goes faster and faster. Now, if you start doing this every single time you get paid, kind of looking at your budget real quick, putting what you can towards that card, you can knock it down, using the debt snowball or the debt avalanche method. I really do and really focus on building out and utilizing that debt avalanche method. That is the methodology of taking your highest interest rate down to your lowest interest rate, and every single dollar that you're putting on these cards are going to that number one, that highest interest rate to knock that out first. Paying for really dollar for dollar, you're going to get more of a return when you're putting it into the debt avalanche method because it is at a much higher rate that you're getting money. I don't want you focusing on something that's 0% or something that is a very low fixed rate. For instance, credit unions, they have fixed rate credit cards, and even though it's a credit card, they run 9.75%, so a pretty good rate versus the traditional 22, 25 like we said. When it comes to that, knocking it out systematically, not on the balances, but on the interest rate that it has itself. And then, of course, when it comes to budgeting, there is not a time that I will not talk about budgeting, the financial plan, whatever it may be. You could even do it old school, pen and paper, writing down everything. Me personally, Excel spreadsheets work very well, but you could also go the route of budgeting apps. There are a crazy amount of companies that offer a lot of budgeting apps, and the ability to go through there, even connecting a multitude of bank accounts, putting it all into one place, just like we see advertisements for like Rocket Money, or Dave Ramsey has one as well. There's a couple really good tools, and a lot of these tools are completely free to you. Yeah, when you're going in there, there could be offers for different things, but of course you can skip the offers. You can go ahead and just eliminate that noise, but you can use them. And of course, if you know your finances, this is really the basis when it comes to financial counseling. And I do this professionally. When it comes to that financial counseling piece, knowing where your money goes. First bucket, you get paid. Second bucket, you pay all of your bills. Where does that go? Every single dollar, you got to know where it goes. And I know, again, a lot of people will say, well, you don't really need to know where every dollar goes. You don't, to a point, but I would really stress it when it comes to budgeting, when it comes to a budgeting app, you should do it at least at the beginning. The beginning, it might be a little bit more difficult. You'll see it's a little bit more tedious. Then you'll realize quickly that a lot of expenses that you have are fixed expenses. Your car payment is not changing. Your rent or your mortgage payment is not changing. There are a lot of things once you start budgeting that become super easy because they are fixed expenses. The ones you have to worry about is the variable expenses. And then when you actually see, again, kind of dollar for dollar, where those variable expenses are at, really what you want to accomplish. Where can you eliminate, another $10, $20, $50 here or there? Where can you shop for different things, getting it a little bit cheaper? It is really going to be those small incremental changes that we talk about that are going to change your financial picture and really your overall financial well-being, I guess, is what I'd call. If you try to tackle it all at once, it can be very overwhelming. But we are talking about taking very small bites out of this financial plan and really getting ready. I mean, when you think about it, switching money to a high yield savings account, that is a no-brainer. 38% of savings accounts are still at traditional banks with an average of a 0.45. When you start looking at the automation for you and I, technology is something that we utilize and we utilize on a regular basis. Automate your contributions to your 401k. Automate it to the HSA. Automate them to the IRA. Automate all of your payments. Simplify your life and make it super easy financially, making contributions into those retirement accounts, and of course, paying off your credit card. Credit card debt, honestly, that I see is the number one biggest struggle that I see of Americans overall. When you look at the absorbent amount of credit card debt that we have as a nation, it will cripple you and it will cripple your financial future if you ever want to live debt-free, if you ever want to be on the other side of it, where they're actually paying you for the money that you have versus you paying for everything that you bought previously. When you think about some credit cards, people have had them for 10, 20, 30 years. The same credit card, the same balance, haven't paid off, haven't consolidated. they have literally just been kicking that interest payment that they're having every single month right down the road, taking away the ability to live a debt-free life, taking away the ability to invest that money as well. All right, guys, so that is going to do it. 5 small changes that can improve your finances in a really big way. But let me know in the comments what you guys think. And as always, thank you guys for watching.